AI is transforming like everything these days, right? I mean, we hear about it constantly.
Yeah.
But what we're driving into today is, well, it's particularly fascinating.
Okay.
We're looking at Morgan Stanley,
Interesting.
this Wall Street giant everyone knows, and how they're using AI in a way that's like truly revolutionary.
Okay.
It's not just automating tasks.
Mm.
They're reshaping how financial advisors work
Right.
and how we as clients experience getting financial advice.
Interesting.
We're basing this deep dive on an article from OpenAI.
Okay.
It goes into a lot of depth about all this.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what we really want to understand is how this cutting edge tech is actually changing the game for advisors,
Right.
for their clients,
Yeah.
and what it means for the future of the whole financial industry.
Well, what's really interesting here is that Morgan Stanley is using AI to address some really specific challenges that have always been there in financial advising. They're looking at things like how advisors actually spend their time, how they access all that information,
Right.
and ultimately how they can offer like the best, most tailored advice to each individual client.
That makes a lot of sense because I know there are just mountains of data out there.
Yeah, advisors are drowning in information.
It's overwhelming just to think about.
They have all those research reports and market data and client documents. It never ends.
Wow.
Morgan Stanley was smart. They identified 3 key areas where AI could make a huge difference in all that.
Okay, let's unpack that. What were those 3 areas?
The first one was that information overload problem we were just talking about.
Okay.
I mean, advisors are constantly searching for the right data.
Yeah.
They need to be able to find the exact piece of information in seconds.
It's like if you're an advisor and you have to make a quick decision on a trade for a client, but you're stuck looking through mountains of data,
Exactly.
that's a nightmare.
So that's where AI comes in.
Okay.
Morgan Stanley used AI to streamline that whole process. So instead of like hunting for a needle in a haystack, advisors can instantly access the precise information they need.
That's incredible. It's about speed and efficiency and making better decisions for the clients, right?
Exactly.
So the AI acts like a super efficient research assistant.
Right.
Okay, so that's one area. What was the second one?
Well, think about those huge research reports that are coming out all the time
Oh, yeah.
and all that complex data that's in them.
Right.
Someone has to go through all that and boil it down to something usable.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine summarizing a 100-page report on market trends?
Oh, gosh.
It would take forever.
Definitely not the best use of an advisor's time.
Exactly.
That's a job for AI.
Right. So that's what Morgan Stanley did. They brought in AI to automate those kinds of repetitive tasks.
Oh, that's smart.
It can analyze those dense reports and pull out the key takeaways.
Wow.
And it saves advisors tons of time and effort.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So what was the third area?
The third area was about taking all that data and crafting personalized advice for each client.
Okay.
I mean, every client's different.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They have different goals, different risk tolerances, different financial situations.
Right.
Well, AI can analyze all of that and generate insights that an advisor can use to create a truly tailored financial plan.
So it's not just making things faster, it's actually making the advice itself smarter.
Exactly.
That's pretty amazing. How did Morgan Stanley pull this off? What kind of AI tech are we talking about here?
They turned to something called GPT-4.
GPT-4.
It's this powerful language model developed by OpenAI.
I've heard of that.
It's been trained on a massive amount of data, and it can understand and generate human-like text.
Okay, so how does GPT-4 actually work in this situation?
At a basic level, it's like having this incredibly well-read assistant who can process information and answer questions in a really sophisticated way.
Like a super-powered research assistant.
Right.
So they took this GPT-4 and they integrated it to create their own internal chatbot.
Yeah. Exactly. They call it the AI at Morgan Stanley Assistant.
Catchy name. So if I'm an advisor and I need to know anything about a particular stock or a market trend or even a specific client's portfolio, I can just ask this AI assistant.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just give you generic answers.
Okay.
It actually accesses Morgan Stanley's vast internal knowledge base, and it tailors the responses to the specific question you asked.
Wow, that's impressive. But I imagine there were some challenges along the way.
Oh, of course.
I mean, this is finance we're talking about.
Right.
Trust and accuracy are absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
How did Morgan Stanley make sure that this technology was up to their standards?
They didn't just jump into it.
Yeah.
They had a really rigorous evaluation process.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. What were they looking at?
Well, for one thing, they had to be absolutely certain that the AI could accurately summarize complex financial data. That's critical and interesting. Advisors need to be able to trust the information they're getting.
So did they like test it out?
They put it through tons of tests. They fed it all kinds of reports and articles and data.
Okay.
Then they compared the AI summaries to those created by humans.
So it was like a competition, AI versus human analysts.
You could say that.
Who won?
Well, the AI did incredibly well.
Wow.
It was consistently able to pull out the key points and deliver accurate summaries.
That's amazing. But it wasn't just about summarization, right?
No. They also did evaluations to make sure the AI could translate languages.
Oh, right. And that makes sense because Morgan Stanley has clients all over the world.
Exactly. Being able to serve clients in their native language is a big advantage.
For sure. So they weren't messing around. They were really committed to getting this right.
Absolutely. And it was an iterative process.
What does that mean?
They kept testing and refining and improving the AI based on the results of the evaluations.
Always making it better.
Right. It's like constantly coaching it to improve.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they created this internal AI assistant, but they didn't stop there, right?
No, they did.
They also developed another tool, the AI at Morgan Stanley Debrief.
That's right.
Tell me more about that one.
Well, Debrief uses AI to capture and analyze the most important information from client meetings.
It's like having a note taker who can also understand the nuances of what was discussed.
Yeah.
How does it actually work?
It's pretty amazing. They use a combination of AI technologies,
Okay.
including Whisper and GPT-4,
I see.
to analyze recordings of client meetings.
Wait, they're recording client meetings.
Oh, yeah, but it's all done with the client's consent.
Okay, good to know. So it's not like secretly recording conversations.
No, not at all. Clients have to opt in.
And then this debrief tool analyzes the conversation.
Yes, it pulls out key insights and action items, and it even does sentiment
The
analysis.
sentiment analysis.
That means the AI can actually pick up on the emotional tone of the conversation,
Really?
like whether it was positive or negative or neutral.
That's wild. So it's not just about what was said, but how it was said.
Exactly. And Debrief takes all that information and automatically generates client notes and even drafts follow-up emails.
Wow.
And it integrates everything into Morgan Stanley's CRM system.
That's a lot. It sounds like this is a game changer for advisor productivity.
Oh, it is. But it's important to remember the human element.
Okay.
AI is a tool. It's a powerful tool, but it doesn't replace the advisor.
So where does the advisor fit in if the AI is doing all this?
The advisor still needs to review and adjust the AI's output.
Okay.
They use their expertise and judgment to make sure it's accurate and appropriate for the client.
So it's a collaboration.
Yes, human and machine working together.
I like that. Okay, let's talk about something that I think everyone's thinking about when it comes to AI, especially in finance. Trust and security.
Mm-hmm.
How did Morgan Stanley address those concerns about data privacy and potential misuse of this technology?
Well, they took a multi-pronged approach to make sure client data is protected.
Okay.
First, they built quality assurance right into the evaluation process. They're constantly stress testing the AI to find any weaknesses.
Like trying to break it to see where it might be vulnerable?
Exactly. But they went even further.
Really?
They relied on OpenAI's zero data retention policy for GPT-4.
What does that mean?
It means none of the client data used with the AI assistant is stored or used by OpenAI to train their public models.
Oh, that's good. So even though Morgan Stanley is using OpenAI's technology, they're doing it in a way that keeps client data completely private?
That's right.
That's reassuring.
They were very intentional about addressing concerns about data privacy right from the start.
It sounds like they're approaching this with a lot of care and consideration. It's not just a rush to implement the latest technology.
Exactly. They're being very thoughtful about it.
Now, from what I understand, Morgan Stanley sees this as just the beginning, right?
Yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
I was going to say, it sounds like they're just getting started.
They are. They've been really pleased with the results they've seen.
I can imagine.
And they believe AI has the potential to revolutionize not just wealth management, but the entire organization.
Wow. So what's next? What are they looking at?
Well, one of the most interesting things they're exploring is the idea of a super app.
A super app. What's that?
Imagine an app that brings together all of their AI-powered tools and services
Okay.
into a single platform.
So it's like a one-stop shop for everything.
Yeah, for research and analysis and client management and even investment recommendations.
Sounds pretty amazing.
And they're already seeing incredible results in their wealth management division.
Like what?
Well, the adoption rate of the AI tools among their advisors is almost 100%.
Wow, that's really impressive. It sounds like the advisors are really embracing these tools.
They are. And it's not hard to see why.
Why is that?
Because it's working.
Yeah.
We're seeing reports of increased document access and reduced search time, and advisors having more time to focus on things like building client relationships.
That's great. So this is really a win-win for both the advisors and their clients.
It is.
Now, before we move on to part 2, I want to make sure we capture the main point of what we've talked about so far. What would you say is the most important takeaway from this first part of our deep dive?
I think the key takeaway is that Morgan Stanley's approach to AI is not about replacing humans.
Okay.
It's about empowering them.
Empowering.
It's about using AI to help advisors be more efficient and more insightful and ultimately more effective in serving their clients.
Well said. We'll be right back after a quick break to delve deeper into this fascinating topic in part 2 of our deep dives. Stay tuned.
Okay, so we're back, and we're diving deeper into this whole Morgan Stanley AI thing.
Yeah.
It's one thing to hear about these tools in theory, but it's another thing to hear how it's impacting the people who are actually using them.
Absolutely. The human element is so important.
It's not just about algorithms and data.
No.
It's about how this tech is changing the way advisors work and how they talk with their clients.
About the people.
Yeah. And luckily, this OpenAI article we're looking at.
It has some great quotes from Morgan Stanley executives.
Oh, perfect. Let's hear those.
That really illustrate all this.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one from Jeff McMillan,
Okay.
head of firm-wide AI at Morgan Stanley. He says, and I quote, "This technology makes you as smart as the smartest person in the organization. Each client is different, and AI helps us cater to each client's unique needs."
That's a great quote. It really highlights how AI is leveling the playing field.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a new advisor just starting out.
Right.
This tech gives you access to the same vast knowledge as someone with decades of experience.
It's like having a whole team of experts right there.
Exactly. It democratizes knowledge in a really powerful way.
And it's not just about having access to the information.
Okay.
It's being able to use it effectively.
Yeah, David Wu, head of firm-wide AI product and architecture strategy at Morgan Stanley.
Okay.
He had a good quote about this too.
What'd he say?
He said, "We went from being able to answer 7,000 questions to a place where we can now effectively answer any question from a corpus of 100,000 documents."
That's incredible. That's a huge leap.
It really shows how this technology isn't static.
Yeah.
It keeps learning and evolving.
And they're committed to pushing those boundaries.
Definitely.
And it sounds like they're getting amazing feedback
They are.
from the advisors who are using these tools.
Caitlin Elliott, head of firm-wide generative AI solutions.
Okay.
She said, "The feedback from advisors has been overwhelmingly positive. They're more engaged with clients, and follow-ups that used to take days now happen within hours."
So it's not just making things faster.
No.
It's improving the quality of the interaction.
Yeah, it frees advisors up to focus on what they're good at.
Okay.
Building those relationships, really understanding their clients' needs, and giving that personalized advice.
Now I'm curious, was there any pushback?
Pushback.
Yeah, from advisors when these AI tools were first rolled out.
You mean like resistance to change?
Yeah, I mean, that's natural, right?
It is. It's a common reaction to any new tech, especially when it might change how we work.
People might worry about their jobs being replaced.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's a natural concern.
So how did Morgan Stanley handle that?
Well, they were very proactive. They made it clear right from the start that the goal was to empower advisors, not to replace them.
It was about reframing the narrative.
Yes, AI as a tool to enhance skills and capabilities.
Not a threat.
Exactly. And I think that approach worked.
How so?
They have almost 100% adoption of these tools among their wealth management advisors.
Wow, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, they built trust and showed the real-world value of these tools.
Okay, so we've talked about the benefits.
Right.
But we should probably acknowledge the challenges, too.
Of course. Any new tech, especially in finance.
It comes with potential risks.
Yeah, we have to be realistic.
So let's talk about some of those potential challenges. What are some things financial institutions should be thinking about when they're implementing AI?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is unintended consequences.
Okay.
AI systems are only as good as the data they're trained on.
Right.
So if that data is flawed or biased,
Yeah.
it can lead to problems.
So like if you're using AI to assess loans, but the data that AI was trained on reflects existing biases,
Exactly.
the AI could end up perpetuating those biases.
And leading to unfair outcomes for certain borrowers.
That's a real danger.
It is. So financial institutions need to be incredibly careful about the data they use, and they need to constantly monitor for bias.
To make sure it's fair.
Yes. What about explainability? I
Explainability.
mean, these AI systems are incredibly complex.
Right. How can anyone be sure they understand how the AI is making its decisions?
That's a huge challenge. Explainability is a big issue with AI.
I can imagine.
Some of these models are so complex, even the people who built them can't always fully explain how they work.
So it's a black box.
Kinda. You know the input and you know the output, but you don't know what's going on in between,
And that can be a problem in finance,
especially in finance.
where transparency is so important.
Yes. Imagine an AI system recommends selling a stock, but no one can explain why.
That wouldn't make me feel very confident.
So how do we make these AI systems more transparent?
That's the million-dollar question.
That's a tough one. A lot of smart people are working on it.
What are some of the approaches?
Well, one approach is to develop new techniques for visualizing and interpreting AI models.
Okay.
Another is to focus on building simpler, more interpretable models.
Even if they're not as powerful.
Right. It's about finding a balance between power and transparency.
So AI isn't a magic bullet.
Definitely not. It's a
No.
tool, and like any tool, it has to be used responsibly and ethically.
Now let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
We've talked about advisors, but what about the clients?
The people who are actually getting the advice.
Yeah. How is AI changing the client experience?
Well, I think the potential for AI to improve the client experience is huge.
Really?
Think about personalization.
Okay.
Imagine getting financial advice that's truly tailored to you.
To your specific needs and goals.
Exactly. It's like having an advisor who knows you inside and out.
That would be amazing.
AI can do that. It can analyze so much data about you.
What kind of data?
Your financial situation, your spending habits, your investment preferences.
Wow.
And then it uses that info to create a plan that's just right for you.
That's incredible. What else?
Accessibility is another big one.
Okay.
What if you could access financial advice 24/7?
Like through a chatbot.
Yeah. You wouldn't be limited by your advisor schedule.
That would be a game changer for busy people.
Exactly. And AI could also make financial advice more affordable.
Okay.
Well, there are robo-advisors.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
They provide automated investment management, and they usually cost a lot less than human advisors.
So it makes financial advice more accessible.
Exactly. More people can benefit from it.
But I guess there could be downsides, too.
Of course. There are always potential downsides.
Like what?
Well, one concern is that AI could make financial advice feel less personal.
Impersonal.
Yeah, instead of having a relationship with a human advisor,
Right.
you're just interacting with a machine.
That could feel cold.
Yeah, so financial institutions need to find the right balance
Between the power of AI.
and the importance of the human touch.
We need both.
Absolutely. AI can handle the routine tasks,
Okay.
but human advisors are still essential for building those relationships and providing that personal touch.
It's a team effort.
It is.
We'll be back in just a moment with the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore the bigger picture of Morgan Stanley's AI revolution and what it could mean for the future of finance.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive.
Back.
And, you know, it's been fascinating to explore how Morgan Stanley is using AI,
Yeah,
but I think it's clear that this goes way beyond just one company.
I agree.
What they're doing is like a glimpse into the future of the whole financial industry.
It really is. It feels like they're on the leading edge of this wave of AI adoption.
That's sweeping across finance.
Exactly. We're seeing it everywhere.
Everywhere, from the biggest banks to the tiniest startups,
Everyone's trying to figure out how to use AI
to stay ahead.
to get a competitive edge.
Yeah.
So this isn't just a fad
No, this is a fundamental shift.
in how the financial world works.
It's changing how these institutions operate.
Okay, so let's get specific. What are some other interesting ways that AI is being used in finance?
Algorithmic trading is a big one.
Algorithmic trading.
These are AI-powered systems that can analyze market data
Okay.
and identify patterns, and then execute trades
At lightning speed.
much faster than any human could.
So those super fast trades that happen in milliseconds?
That's AI.
Like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Right. And then there's fraud detection.
Okay, that's a huge issue these days.
It is. With more and more financial transactions happening online, the risk of fraud just keeps growing.
So how is AI being used to fight fraud?
These AI systems can analyze huge amounts of data.
About transactions.
Yes. And they can spot patterns that might indicate fraudulent activity.
Like a red flag.
Exactly. And they can do it in real time.
Wow.
So they can prevent losses and protect consumers.
It's like having a super smart security guard.
Right? Always watching, always learning.
What else? What other areas are being impacted?
Well, personalized financial advice is another one.
Right, we talked about that with Morgan Stanley.
Yeah. And we're seeing a rise in these robo-advisors.
Those are the AI-powered platforms that provide investment management.
Exactly. They can create portfolios that are tailored to an individual's risk tolerance and goals.
That's pretty cool.
And they often do it at a lower cost than traditional advisors.
So it's more affordable.
Right. It opens up financial advice to a wider range of people.
Okay, so AI is changing the way advice is given, but what about the behind-the-scenes stuff?
Oh, yeah. AI is being used to streamline all those back office operations, too.
Like what?
Things like loan processing and risk assessment and regulatory compliance.
Those are all pretty important.
They are, and they can be really time-consuming and prone to errors.
So AI can automate those tasks?
Yes, it can make them faster, more efficient, and more accurate.
It's really transforming the whole system.
It is. And as AI tech keeps getting better, we can expect even more innovation.
It's hard to even imagine what the future holds.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
But with all this talk about AI transforming finance, I think we have to address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
What about jobs?
Yeah, yes, the question everyone's asking.
Are robots going to take over the financial industry?
Well, I think it's important to be realistic.
Okay.
AI will definitely automate some tasks and roles.
So some jobs will be lost.
There will be some displacement,
Yeah.
but it's not all doom and gloom.
Okay, so there's a silver lining.
AI will also create new opportunities.
In what way?
We'll need people to develop and implement and manage these AI systems.
So we'll need people who understand AI.
Yes. But they'll also need to understand finance.
So a hybrid skill set.
Exactly. They need to speak the language of both tech and finance.
It's not just about AI versus humans.
No, it's about humans and AI working together.
That makes sense.
The future belongs to those who can harness the power of AI.
And combine it with human ingenuity. What kind of skills do you think will be most in demand in this new world?
We'll need people who can bridge that gap between technology and finance.
People who can translate between the two worlds.
Right. And we'll need critical thinkers.
Who can use AI to solve real-world problems.
Yes. And people who are creative and innovative.
To come up with new ways to use AI.
To push those boundaries and create things we haven't even thought of yet.
Wow, this is really exciting stuff.
It is. We're at the very beginning of this AI revolution.
It's like a whole new world is opening up.
And it's up to us to make sure this tech is used for good.
That's a great point. I think that's a perfect note to end on. It's been fascinating to explore this topic with you.
Thanks for having me.
And we hope our listeners found it insightful and thought-provoking too. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.